Miami, Ohio, here's the deal. Are we going to select the 68 most deserving teams, or are we going to select the 68 best teams? If we're selecting the 68 best teams, then Miami, Ohio is going to have to win their tournament to qualify as a champion. Because as an at-large, they are not one of the best teams in the country. And that's going to be a difficult choice for the committee to make.
Here's a question that I have for the group here. What is more valuable, the conference tournament or the regular season, winning out the regular season? I think it's regular season.
Right.
Because I think you got a larger body of work. I think they play well, but the unfortunate part of being a mid-major is you got to handle your business not only in conference, but also in tournament play.
Yes.
My son played at the University of New Mexico, and they actually snuck in and won the conference tournament.
And that throws off
everybody. And they win and they lost to Clemson. But at the end of the day, I think you just got to take care of your business if you're a mid-major team.
Yeah.
I don't know if the 0 at the end of the season makes a difference unless they win out their conference.
Because here's why it's crazy. The MAC has not had multiple teams, multiple bids since 98-99. So that's almost 30 years ago. And the strength of schedule for Miami of Ohio, 321st.
What are we doing? It's called the Big Dance. And we shouldn't be letting Bruce Pearl, with his daddy issues, comment on Miami of Ohio. Because what he's really championing is Auburn, the team his son now coaches. Bruce Pearl retired, quit, very close to the beginning of the season or during the offseason, late in the offseason. So Auburn would have no choice but to promote his son to head basketball coach at Auburn. Auburn is 15-14. They have no business being in the NCAA tournament. But they're on the bubble, and people are talking about they deserve to be in the tournament more than Miami, which is like 29-0 and in the Mid-American Conference. Do I have a slight bias having played football at Ball State and being a fan of the Mid-American Conference? Absolutely. But I'm also not an idiot. They call it the Big Dance. You know why they call it the Big Dance? Because it's about Cinderella storylines. Obviously, Cinderellas don't normally win the Big Dance. They don't win the NCAA tournament. But that's a major part of the allure of the NCAA tournament. And to have someone sitting on national TV arguing against Miami of Ohio, protecting his mediocre son's performance as the head coach at Auburn, this is ridiculous by TNT. This man has daddy issues just as big, worse than Deion Sanders, worse than LeBron James. You thought LeBron James forcing his son into the NBA was bad? You thought Deion retiring his son's jersey was bad? Let's go look at Bruce Pearl. Here's the difference between Bruce Pearl and Deion Sanders, one of the 10 greatest football players of all time. Charles Barkley, one of the 20, 25 greatest basketball players of all time, and Bruce Pearl. Hell of a college basketball coach. No national championships. He's not one of the 20, 30, 40, 50 best college basketball coaches of all time. He had a nice career as a college basketball coach, did some nice things at Auburn, did some nice things at Tennessee. Now he's jamming his son down our throats, down Auburn's throats, and disrespecting a Miami team that has done what his son's team and his former team cannot do. Compete at a high level consistently within their conference. Do I care that Miami, they got what, the 265th best schedule in college basketball? It's mediocre. It's terrible. But I don't care. They've expanded the NCAA tournament to 68 teams. And you want to eliminate one of the best Cinderella stories in recent college basketball history? All because you want to get your son in the tournament? Are we putting the 68 best teams in the tournament? That's never really been the standard. If once they went to this first 4 deal where they went from 64 to 68, that's what this whole thing should be about. The first 4 should be 4 Cinderella teams placed in the tournament because they had great regular seasons. Doesn't matter whether they're one of the 68 best teams. Because what we know is there's 20 good teams, probably 10 to 12 teams that have a chance at winning the NCAA tournament. Everybody else is just there to drive the story. I don't mind rewarding teams that win 21, 22, 23 games, have good conference seasons, and deserve a reward. Hey, you're in the NCAA tournament. You had some things go your way. You had some things not go your way. You finished 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th in your conference. I believe Auburn is the 11th team in the SEC. And they belong in the NCAA tournament over a 29-0 Miami team. And I don't care if Miami, I think, has 2 games left in the regular season. I don't care if they lose one of them, and I don't care if they lose in their postseason tournament. They've had an amazing season. I just watched their last game against Western Michigan. They're playing without their starting point guard. Their best player fouls out with 6 or 7 minutes left. They're down 5, 7 points with 3, 4 minutes to go, and they closed it out and won the game on the road because they're a well-coached, amazingly coached team, and they just have this togetherness and just guys stepped up. It's an amazing story. This is what college basketball and the NCAA tournament is about. It's about Cinderella. And Bruce Pearl loudly leading the bandwagon to eliminate Cinderella is insanity. Let's play another clip from Bruce Pearl where he, I think, talks about his Auburn team being on the bubble and Miami possibly as an at-large team. Play the clip.
Go back to the Auburn Tigers. The Auburn Tigers with a tough loss the other day, 6-10 in the SEC. It's now probably going to be an uphill climb. Can they make that uphill climb?
It's they're a last 4 in, and you never want to be in the last 4 in because any upset in the tournament and you're the first 4 out. So they got LSU tomorrow. They've got to beat LSU. The last regular season game is at Alabama. And that's going to be hard. Now, we did win there last year, but Alabama's playing really well. They're a team right now that as you're looking for who might be a Sweet 16 team that could slip into the Elite 8, the way Alabama's playing. And so I don't know that they get that one. Here's what Auburn's got to do. They're going to beat LSU at home, and they probably need to win their first round in the SEC tournament. They've got 5 quad 1 wins. They've got the best win in college basketball on the road at Florida as far as that margin. It's either the best or one of the best. So they got a little bit more work to do.
And then you're going to throw on your Ohio shirt, and you're going to be rooting for them in the tournament. And I'd love to be behind closed doors if you have to cast a vote, and it's Auburn or a one-loss Ohio team from the tournament, and see which way this vote goes, because I got a feeling I know which way it's going.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no love of my son. I mean, there's no nepotism involved here.
All right.
I'm not.
Brandon,
I'm not in the
said
room.
it. There's no nepotism.
David, someday you'll give it to your son. Someday you'll give it to your son.
Guys out of the closet. Dave Portnoy making a mistake. He's talking about Miami of Ohio. He keeps calling them Ohio, but it's Miami of Ohio. Bruce Pearl's not hiding what he's doing here. It's nepotism. And the whole nepotism thing in sports, there's a larger story being told right before your eyes about what this whole woke, liberal, Marxist, new world order, and all these people that believe like, oh man, we need a little taste of socialism, we need a little bit more wokeness. It's about eliminating the little guy. It's about eliminating the underdog, the Cinderella, the guys like me that daddy didn't graduate high school, started out working at Chrysler as a factory worker. Mama worked for 30 years as a factory worker. I come from when I say I come from nothing, I come from great parents and I come from obviously Jesus Christ, but I come from the bottom. We started out in the ghetto. I'm a Cinderella story. I want to protect the opportunity for the little guy to move up in America. This entire conversation, what sports has always been about and how they've changed sports and how everything favors the elites, favors the rich and the powerful. Auburn has a chance in the SEC to prove itself to be worthy of an NCAA tournament bid. They've gone 6-10. No one's going to miss them. No one cares about their storyline. No one cares about Auburn because no one thinks Auburn can win anything. And look, Miami of Ohio can't win the NCAA tournament, but it's a great story. It's something we would watch. Let's say they're a 9 or 10 seed. We would watch them in their first round game try to take on a big name program. And even if they got the brakes beat off of them, it would be fascinating. It would be interesting. It'd be worth tuning in for. It's part of the story. It's part of the brand for the NCAA tournament, the big dance. If you start eliminating all the Cinderella stories, and now the only Cinderellas come from power conferences that are flush with money and cash, you don't have a big dance. You have a tournament for the elites. There is no underdog story. There is no little guy story. What are we doing? All because Bruce Pearl wants to champion his son who's had a disappointing season? I don't get it. Bruce Pearl's son, just like Deion's son, just like LeBron's son, they're born sliding into home plate. I'm not saying they're born on third base. No, they're born sliding into home plate. And the outfielder doesn't even have the ball out of his hands yet. You talk about can't miss. Bruce Pearl's a multimillionaire. He's fast-tracked his son into the coaching profession, handed him a Power 4 head coaching job. This is Deion Sanders and LeBron James all over again, except Bruce Pearl is less qualified. And now he's sitting on TV campaigning for his son. There's a certain kind of privilege that this is. And I know this is going to irritate you, but we've built a system where black people and Jewish people have a privilege that others do not. Because trust me, if this were a white coach doing this for his white son as flagrantly and as openly as Bruce Pearl is, with Bruce Pearl's mediocre in comparison to Deion and LeBron, with his mediocre record, it would be getting called out. No one would tolerate this conversation. He would sound foolish arguing that Miami has no business in the NCAA tournament. Like, well, this is crazy, but there's a privilege that has been carved out from whining and victimhood for black people and Jewish people. And they want to pick and choose who gets the benefits. And it's always their sons, their relations, people that are born on third base, sliding into home plate. Let's make life easier for them. Travis Steele and what he's accomplished, because the reality is Travis Steele and Miami and Akron in the Mid-American Conference. Akron's lost one conference game, and that was to Miami. Akron is coached by Travis Steele's half-brother, by the way. Both of those teams belong in the NCAA tournament. St. Louis University at 26-3, whether they win the A-10 or not, they belong in the NCAA tournament. The first four should be the four Cinderella teams. Let them play on Tuesday, the Cinderella four. Let them play on Tuesday to open the tournament. Then two of those teams advance into the NCAA tournament. That's the real solution. There shouldn't be a single conversation going on about a 6-10 Auburn team. A 6-10 in their conference, 15-14 overall. I'm going to bring in Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News. He's covered college basketball for 3 decades. We'll continue the conversation with him. We got some other great stuff going on in today's show. Steve Kim will be here. Matt McChesney is going to join us as well. Colorado, Deion opens up spring football this week, I believe maybe today. They start spring football with a revamped coaching staff. We'll talk with Matt McChesney about that. We'll talk with Steve Kim about Luke Cornett, San Antonio Spurs scrub, who has spoken out against the Magic City Strip Club night the Atlanta Hawks are planning on March 16th. Todd McShay says that Ty Simpson is a top 15 pick. Luther Campbell is whining about white coaches. We'll talk about that. But anyway, we got a great show. The WNBA players. Looks like they're dividing along racial lines. We'll discuss that as well. We want to tell those of you listening on Apple or Spotify, those of you watching on Spotify, hit that 5-star rating right now. We deserve it. We're going to have an awesome show for you. If you're listening over Apple, if you're watching over Spotify or listening over Spotify, do that. The other thing you guys can do, the main thing you guys can do, is thank our sponsor today, Preborn. You guys know how I feel about preborn, how we feel about preborn, how we feel about life beginning at conception. There's no organization that supports that worldview better than Preborn. Preborn provides expectant mothers an ultrasound. Expectant mothers that are considering an abortion, provide them an ultrasound, let them see an image of the baby in the womb, let them hear that baby's heartbeat. Now they know they're dealing with and is growing inside of them is God's greatest gift, life. Those women are now twice as likely to choose life. Once they do, Preborn steps in and steps up, supports that woman and child for up to 2 years. They do that because men like me and you, and women like me and you, we support Preborn. It's $28 for every ultrasound. 5 ultrasounds cost $140. Whatever your best gift is, make it right now. Become like me. Become a monthly subscriber or a monthly donator to Preborn. Visit preborn.com/fearless. That's preborn.com/fearless, or dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. Mike DeCourcy. X. I was talking to a coach last night that the average P4 starter is making in basketball is making anywhere between $800,000 and $1 million. These guys aren't starving in college basketball. And Adam Silver should be working on a way that the NBA can work with college basketball to come up with a pay system that allows these guys to stay and forces them to stay, requires them to stay for 4 or 5 years in the college game, bring those fan bases and all that they learn into the professional ranks. The NBA and college basketball should not be adversaries. They should not be rivals. They should be partners. All right, welcome back. Mike DeCourcy joining us. Mike, I just ripped into Bruce Pearl. I don't like the fact that he's talking against Miami. I don't care about their strength of schedule. You go 29-0, and or become a Cinderella story. I don't care if they lose one of their final 2 regular season games. I don't care if they lose in the first round of their postseason tournament. Miami's a great story. It's the embodiment of the Cinderella story that the big dance has been built upon. I think Bruce Pearl is out of his mind here and trying to find a way to create enough space for his son's mediocre Auburn team to make the tournament.
I do think that there is an element of concern relative to Auburn in his speaking. I don't think that at this point. First of all, let's look at Auburn just to sort of clear what their circumstance is. They are now 15-14 in the entirety of the expanded bracket era. Began in 1985 when they expanded the field to 64 teams, now 68. There have been only 2 teams that made it in, even 2 games over 500. 1991 Villanova, a team that I covered closely at the Pittsburgh Press when I was covering Pitt for the Big East. And then in 2001, Georgia from the SEC, and I covered some of their games as well at the Sporting News. And those teams played profoundly difficult schedules, were in extremely deep and balanced leagues, and managed to finish 2 games over 500. At the moment, Auburn's only 1 game over 500. So there's their biggest problem, is that the relative to 500, they're only a game over. They're not getting in at that. And I don't think that their schedule and performance warrants getting in at 2 games over 500 either, measured against the history of that particular designation. So what Auburn really needs is to perform at a level where they're 3-4 games over 500, and they haven't done that recently. And if they got there, Miami's not even in their way. Miami's the least of their concerns. It crowds the field a little bit for them, but if they, with their metrics and with a significant record, they wouldn't have any trouble at all. So Miami's not their problem. Now look at Miami. Look, I do think that they need to. I think it would be very helpful for them to win their final 2 regular season games and go into the MAC tournament undefeated. No team has finished the regular season undefeated and been left out of March Madness. At least not in the expanded bracket era. I haven't gone past that. But the number of teams that have been able to do that have been able to go into even their own conference tournament undefeated, is so short that I know them all off the top of my head. It just doesn't happen. Indiana State 79, Vegas 91, Wichita, St. Joe's in 04, Wichita in 14, and Kentucky in 15. Pretty sure that's the entire list. If you can join that club, there is no way they're keeping you out of the tournament. And now, would it be helpful to get all the way at least to the conference tournament final, so that more than likely, if you do lose, you're losing to a terrific Akron team that could easily make it into the field. If there were no Miami, Akron would be the overwhelming favorite to win the MAC. They're outstanding. If you lost to them, I don't even know that it would ding their seeding that much. I'll say, Jason, I'm one of the only bracket analysts that has Miami right now as a single-digit seed. There are well over 100 either professional or informed amateur bracket projections at the bracketmatrix.com right now, and I think there are only 8 or 9 right now that have them as a single-digit seed. But I just don't see how, when that history that I gave you, that's the seeding era. They didn't seed in '76 when Indiana and Rutgers made it into the tournament undefeated. In the seeding era, every one of those teams that I just mentioned is a 1 seed. And I'm not arguing for a 1 seed for Miami, but I'm certainly arguing that if they get to the conference tournament undefeated, they should be at least a single-digit seed.
I think what Bruce Pearl fears, which I think should happen, because, look, Akron is probably just as good as Miami. They lost by 3 points in their regular season clash. An odd fact that I think is an amazing story is that Travis Steele is the half-brother of Akron's head coach, and I for some reason I can't think of Akron's head coach's name.
John Gross.
John Gross, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think both of those teams belong in the tournament, and I really mean that sincerely. It's a great story, and it's Mike. It's funny. It's one of those deals where I believe like narrative should drive a little of the decision making, where it's like, hey, this is made two brothers dominate a conference. There's one loss in the conference between them this deep into the conference season. Put both of those guys in the tournament. It's a great story. And to me, Mike, I would like make the first four about the Cinderella teams. Every year, I would identify 4 Cinderella teams from non-major conferences that play on Tuesday, and 2 of those teams play themselves into the big dance. I think it's important to protect the Cinderella stories and not just have this tournament be flooded or completely dominated by power conference teams, and then 14 or 15 other or it's conference champions or whatever.
Oh, it's more than that. Right now, and this is why I don't think that that the mid majors are necessarily getting a terrible deal here in general. The field is, let's say now, if we restrict the major conference conversation to 5, then you have 26 automatic bids for mids. If you add in the Mountain West and the Atlantic 10, if you want to do that, then you're still at 24. So if you look at it, if you do it mathematically, the mid majors get automatically, I believe it's 36 or 37% of the bids to the tournament. So they're getting well more than a third of the bids to the tournament. And I'm being totally honest here. They don't have a third of the best teams. If you stage this thing in an all-out deal where, like the old Indiana State high school tournament used to be, most of the teams standing at the end would be high major programs. So I love the structure as it is now. I just want the teams to be judged on what the standards are, and the standards have been over the last couple of years more oriented now toward what some people refer to as record-based metrics. I think that's needlessly wordy, so I call them resume metrics. And what those metrics are, they basically measure what you achieve relative to your schedule. And it doesn't matter how many points you win by. Every 1-point win is a win. Every 1-point loss is a loss. And that's the way I believe it should be done, because I always say it only takes 6 1-point victories to win the national championship. You don't get jumped around if you win by 30. You still have to play the next game. So I like this approach. And if you look at those metrics, Miami is 32nd right now, which puts you as an 8 seed if you did it that way. So they're firmly in the field as of now. Again, that's why it's best for them if they finish out the regular season. They've got Toledo coming in on Tuesday night. They've got to go to Ohio University, an arch rival, certainly, and not having their best year at Ohio U. But those are 2 solid mid-level MAC teams that they have to defeat on their way to that finishing with perfection. But as of now, they are firmly in the field. And I think that those who want it to be about scheduling, that they are the ones who are most concerned about this. Some of them, I think, are protecting their own territory, like Bruce, and some of them are just looking at the pure schedule metrics and not what do you achieve against that schedule. As far as the wins above bubble metric, which is the newest addition to a team's official resume, and one that the NCAA committee seems to put a lot of investment in. Miami has won 2.21 more games against their schedule than an average bubble team would. That's what that metric says. And Auburn, in their circumstance, has won 0.1 games, so 1/10 of one game more than an average bubble team would as of now. So who's playing better? Okay, yeah, Miami played 3 D2s. Shouldn't do that. I agree. But against the schedule that they played that is D1, they are significantly outperforming what an average bubble team would do. And Auburn is not.
Do you buy, some people are saying, I think I saw Dan Dockage say this week that, and I think the AD maybe but that Big Ten teams aren't scheduling MAC teams anymore because they don't want to risk the loss. Do you buy that argument?
Well, I think that happens. Yes, it could be the MAC, it could be the Valley, it could be it could be someone like Stephen F. Austin, which has become such a nice team, or McNeese State, which had a great year last year, got in as a 12 and won a first round game, and then is back and playing at a very strong level just in that league with Stephen F. Austin. So it's going to be tough to see who gets that. I think there's a lot of that. But one of the things that I've argued, gosh, now for 20 years, Jason, is for those teams that are complaining about that, instead of complaining about it, play each other, because those wins count a lot. And I'll tell you right now that as I look at my bracket, the one I've projected, when I try to put teams together in particular games, for like the first four, my last four teams they have to play one another in Dayton, and I have to project it. And then I want to have VCU play, say, New Mexico. I can't do it because they've already played. And I keep finding that among all the teams that are at the end of my field that are mid-majors, they all played one another because they were smart. They listened to that and said, look, if we can't play number 40 Ohio State, we can not play number 50 New Mexico, and it really helps us. And those teams are seeing that rewarded by the nature of the current of my current bracket projections, of other current bracket projections, as well as the metrics the committee is using to decide these things. If you look at a team say at this point, Belmont, they're at 53 in the projected metrics. VCU, which is a team that I have in, some others don't, they're at 46. New Mexico is 45. This is all in the wins above bubble ranking. New Mexico is right behind Texas A&M. Texas A&M has played nearly a full schedule in the SEC, which has given them lots of opportunities, lots of exposure to other NCAA tournament teams. And they're this far ahead, slightly above New Mexico at this point. So it shows you the value of those programs playing one another. Can you bat 1,000? Like, might you schedule a team, let's say like Toledo, which has been really good over the years, and say, okay, let's play Toledo, and then it doesn't turn out to be as great a game as you thought? Sure. But that happens with the high majors too. You could have played Northwestern, which made 2 NCAA appearances in the last 3 years and finished second in the Big Ten 2 years in a row. But then this year, they're not having a great year. So you got them on your schedule. It's not helping you as much as you hoped. It happens at all levels. But if more of these mid-major teams played one another, I think that they would enhance their own schedules to the point where, okay, it's not the same as playing Duke, but you're probably not beating Duke. Whereas if you're VCU, you might beat New Mexico.
St. Louis University, they're 26-3. Got a good chance to win the A-10, but if they don't, does SLU make your tournament?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, again, I haven't looked at their schedule in particular for the rest of this regular season, but if they finish reasonably well, as would be expected, no worse than 1-1, and then do anything in the A-10 tournament that would be expected, again, at least win your quarterfinal game, I think they absolutely make it. They might trend back toward a double-digit seed at this point if they were to do the least that would be acceptable. But usually when you get to this time of year, teams do what they are. They accomplish what they are. Like Arizona goes out on Monday night against Iowa State, and they play like Arizona because they're playing at home. The opposition doesn't matter that much. If they play to their level, they're going to beat most teams at home, and that's what they did. Duke, same thing. They are significantly better than NC State. They go out and they handle it. And that's true of bubble teams as well, which we saw a truckload of bubble teams lose over the weekend. Teams that, like California, has Pitt come in. Pitt's not good at all. And they're all the way on the West Coast. They were out there for a little while. It wasn't their first game out there. They played Stanford, but they got beaten by Stanford in the prior game. Then they play Cal, a team that I had in the tournament as of Friday, and Cal never really had a chance to win the game. I mean, Pitt controlled it the entire way. That's what bubble teams do. And the same with Auburn. Auburn has Ole Miss, one of the poorest teams in performance level in the SEC this week, on their own home floor. And all they have to do is win that game to stay a couple of games above 500, and they lose. And that's what bubble teams do at this time of year. The successful ones win and get in. The unsuccessful ones lose and stay out.
Seth Davis said something interesting. Let's read the tweet. I think we're at the point where we can say Kansas has been better this season without Darryn Peterson than with him. He had 24 points, 21 shots today, and they lost by 23. I still think this team has a high ceiling, but I'm losing my faith it will reach it. Darryn Peterson, projected to be the number 1 pick in the draft, most talented player. He's been a bit of an enigma. He can score, but in terms of impacting whether or not they win or lose, who knows what to think. What do you make of Seth's comment that they're better without Darryn Peterson?
I think, first of all, it's interesting that he mentioned the shot attempts, because we had like a Twitter thing several years ago, 2018, when Trae Young went to in a game against Oklahoma State, one of their rivalry games back in 2018, and in that game, I think Trae Young took 43 shots to score 41 points. And there was a lot. He was among many analysts who were enraged or upset or bothered, or whatever phrase you want to use relative to that shot attempt number. I grew up in the Austin Carr era, the Pete Maravich. So I don't have a big problem with the best player taking the most shots. And I didn't have a problem. Obviously, you'd want him to be more efficient than he was that day, but the shot number got big in that day because at that point they were down and he was their best player, and their only way back in the game was through Trae, and they got to overtime in a game that they were down in, and they ended up losing. So I think that forms the core of his argument. But the part about better without is a fair point, because they've had some significant results without Darryn. The Arizona home win at Allen a couple of weeks ago would be an example of that. And I think it's fair to look at that and say that some of their best results have been achieved when he's been absent. But some of their other best results have had significant input from him. The BYU victory that they got, he did play the first half, and he helped basically stake them to a huge lead. He scored 18 points in the first half. That's 36 for the game if he finishes and finishes in the same style. So he had a significant input into that BYU win. The problem for Bill Self has been all year having to coach two different teams, the one with Darryn and the one from which he's absent. And it's really hard to get that right in any circumstance. You see teams that get back players that are significant in all sports. They get them back at a point in time where they found a way to win without that player, and now all of a sudden you have to completely change because this player, whether it's football or basketball, hockey might be a little bit less, and baseball probably not as much because everybody's just kind of playing their own deal when they're at the bat or pitching to them. It's not quite as much. But in basketball and football, where you have that chemistry and that rhythm and the formula, and then all of a sudden you completely change the formula because you add in this player who is going to take a lot of shots and going to have a big impact and a big role because he's too talented not to. It's hard to get that rhythm right. And the fact that you get him back and you say, okay, here's what we're going to do, and then you do that and you're successful, and then all of a sudden he's gone again. And sometimes within the same game, it's really hard for them to get it right. So I think it's less about how he plays or that he's present than it is about sometimes he's present, sometimes he's absent. He's now played 3 consecutive games, I believe, in which they haven't played well, but he's played 30 plus minutes. And so if you can rely on that, you can gradually get back to what you need to be with Darryn Peterson in the lineup and be more successful in March than you could certainly be without him. You're not going as far with the group that they have minus Darryn as you would with the group that they have plus Darryn.
I'm going to stay in the Darryn Peterson lane, but I'm going to bring Chad Baker Mazzara into the conversation. Darryn Peterson's draft value might benefit from him not playing anymore, because when Bill Self can't get the best out of you, if I'm an NBA head coach, I'm like, holy cow. Bill Self, that's all he does is develop players and get people to actually overachieve, and he can't get it out of Darryn Peterson. Maybe Darryn Peterson should go the Chad Mazzara route and quit.
Well, I'll say this, that first of all, that in general, I mean, you can't know every scout, every personnel exec in the league, what they're thinking. But I've had multiple conversations with NBA people, and the only concern they have about Darryn Peterson is availability and passion for the game. And that's it. They know
that's a long list. Those are like two important things.
They're two very important things, absolutely. But if it weren't for those issues, this would not be a hard call. As great as AJ DeBonsa is, and he is great, and if like from my 10 years in Indianapolis, got a little affection for the Pacers, and if I were like getting a magic deal where I could take anyone out of this draft for the Pacers, I'd want AJ, because I think he fits perfectly into who they are and what they do, and they don't need that ball dominant scorer that Darren's going to be. But Darryn is that great at prospect that they don't have other concerns about him. Can he get to the rim? Oh yeah. Can he shoot from deep? Yes. Can he shoot off balance? Yes. Like everything technically they love, but then they saw what happened with the cramping issues in January, and they the exec I talked to most recently started to wonder and told me, if he were to sit down with Darryn, he would only have two questions for him. What's the deal medically? And how did you feel when you were sitting there in January watching your teammates play so many games? That's what he wants to know. So you're right that there are huge issues that are central to a player's potential greatness. Jason, I will say this with great admiration. In my time covering the sport, now I don't cover a lot of NBA. I've been around the fringes, but in summers, going out to various summer camps and tournaments and that sort of thing, every now and then I'd bump into an NBA player, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, not your average NBA players, but guys that had already made it, were already stars, all stars. Now they hadn't made it, like LeBron wasn't yet worth $1 billion. But he'd already made it. He certainly was worth 9 figures by the time I saw this. And I watched him work out, and I just was astonished that, like, you could be anywhere in the world. You have all the money there is, and you could do anything you want right now. The season doesn't start for another 3 months. And he's in the gym, and he's putting himself through the necessary paces to make himself greater. And that's the separator. That guys who want to be NBA players, they work really hard. Guys who want to be NBA superstars, they have another gear. They have that unyielding desire to be great. You can't get Kevin Durant away from a basketball floor. What has he played in now? 4 Olympics? You can't get him away. And they need to they want to see that from Darryn. And he says he loves the game and he really wants to be great. And the physical issues are not under his control. And so that's that, but they have to be sure of that. That's the only thing they have to be sure of. And if he did walk away, I think that would introduce a level of anxiety in those first few teams that might lead to him slipping a little bit. I think he needs to be on the floor. Those past 3 games, even though they weren't Kansas's best, I think they were great for him. And I do think that if he continues on this path and they eventually get that formula, that it'll be the best thing for Kansas as well.
Mike, I only got 60 seconds here. Do you have any insight into what the heck happened with Chad Baker-Mazar? How did that? You got any clues on that?
It was an odd thing. He took a fall in Saturday's game against Nebraska, and he did not return. And it did not seem like a decidedly injurious fall when he went down. Probably didn't feel great, but it didn't look like he had been significantly injured. And he subsequently wound up sitting adjacent to the bench, not on the team bench. And a day later, it's announced that he's leaving the team. I don't think that they were excited about how all that looked at USC. I don't think Chad was super excited. This is just inference that about the arrival of Elijah Arenas and how many shots he was taking away. I did wonder how they would work together, and it's a shame they didn't have a full year, because if they did, they might have been able to find something really special. But because Elijah was hurt most of the year, introducing him late, I think created a difficulty in establishing a successful formula there.
Mike, thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Matt McChesney, Colorado's spring practice opens. We'll talk with Matt McChesney about it next.
Words are our religion, no regrets in our decisions. We all want to go to heaven with freedom. It's my obligation, no hate, discrimination, raising up your hands for freedom.
All right, welcome back. Steve Kim joining us from Los Angeles, the Korean Cosell. Steve, we have someone now willing to complain about the Magic City strip club night. Luke Cornett, a scrub, a bench player for the San Antonio Spurs. He's 7'1". He's been in the league 6-7 years, though. He's got some status. He has issued a complaint here. I think. Hold on. Do we have his words? Am I looking at that?
Yeah, it's in C-Block.
Yeah. Yeah. I see that, but I don't see where it starts. I see this week. This is the headline, Graham. This week, the Atlanta Hawks announced a special one-night collaboration to celebrate the city's iconic cultural institution, Magic City, during the team's home game against Orlando on Monday. In his press release, the Hawks failed to acknowledge that this place is, as the business itself boasts, Atlanta's premier strip club. Given this fact, I would like to respectfully ask the Atlanta Hawks cancel this promotional night with Magic City. The NBA should desire to protect and esteem women, many of whom work diligently every day to make this the best basketball league in the world. We should promote an atmosphere that is protective and respectful of daughters, wives, sisters, mothers, and partners that we know and love. Allowing this night to go forward without protest would reflect poorly on us as an NBA community, specifically in being complicit in the potential objectification and mistreatment of women in our society. Regardless of how a woman finds her way into the adult entertainment industry, many in this space experience abuse, harassment, and violence to which they should never be subjected. This white boy's got a pair. I get what is it? I am not your honky. Again, I think this is not your typical honky. He's speaking out here and taking a risk by speaking truth to the NBA and black culture. Steve, you got any advice for Luke Cornett?
Yeah, turn off your comments if you have social media, because you know what's going to happen next, Jason. You're going to get the "Don't you speak about our business," right? Anytime someone that's not the same skin tone has a critique or a comment that is not in line with the accepted message, you're going to get the old, "Who are you to speak about us?" Never mind, those same people speak about everybody else. I have a question, though. It doesn't completely surprise me that a white guy has said it. Now, I wish it would have been Wemby, but I don't think he was going to do it at this stage of his career. He's a very young guy. I think it took a veteran to do it. But can we be honest, Jason? I think if a black player said it, he'd get a lot more heat, wouldn't he?
Yes. Let's say I was sitting here thinking of like, what if Anthony Edwards did this? But I think Anthony Edwards has a baby mama that's a stripper or two. And so you open yourself, if you stand against it, you open yourself up for, hey, are you a hypocrite? You know, who's your baby mama? Or just open yourself up to an attack. And I think a lot of these guys don't want to do that. But again, this is Adam Silver that should swat this down, not the NBA players.
Anthony Edwards would not only not protest it, he would endorse it. In fact, he'd probably ask for more NBA cities to participate in it. Can we be honest? And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not making a judgment. Adam Silver has lost control. I would argue he never had control. This is the problem with the slippery slope. And this goes for all walks of life in sports. Like, I'm one of the few boxing writers who said, I hate these novelty fights. When Floyd Mayweather fought Conor McGregor back in 2017, everyone thought it was great for boxing. And I said, guys, this is a slippery slope that has no end game or no bottom. Now you see Alexander Usyk fighting a kickboxer in the pyramids of Egypt. And this is the problem. You give an inch, you end up giving up the football field.
I want to play this clip of Taylor Rooks, who works for Amazon Prime, and she's the new it girl. She's the next Carissa Thompson. She's the next Erin Andrews. She's the next big star. But, you know, she doesn't seem to have a problem with this strip club night. So it's like, if the women aren't complaining, why should the men? Let's play the clip.
That was my first strip club experience. Okay. Good times.
All right. Let's do a demo. Let's run through it.
I was in awe. Let me tell you that. You see some things in there that make you say, wow. It's great. No favorite Magic City stories. That's what this is.
They tried his wings. Never been. They tried his wings.
No, were you all more cheetah guys? You were.
What was your flight? I was Four Seasons guy, you know, resting for the game.
Got it.
The next night.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with this. Because I'm a former strip club addict, but nothing is left private anymore. Nothing is beyond the pale. Everything is mainstream now, including strip clubs. Am I just an old man, or am I just out of the loop? Should I just go with the flow?
First of all, Jason, you don't have to say addict. That sounds a little harsh. That's like if you're on cocaine, you're an addict. I would say you were more of a connoisseur.
I would say addict.
Things got really uncomfortable on that set. I mean, let's be honest. Unless your name was AC and Green, you were going to the same clubs. Let's be honest. Look, we know the reality of life on the road. Okay? I don't think anyone is that naive anymore. But I think there's a fine line between acknowledging it and then amplifying it to this level where it's uncomfortable. I mean, a lot of those guys may be married now. And I'm thinking
so is Taylor Rooks.
Yeah, and so, and by the way, ladies, there's nothing empowering about you saying you're ever at a strip club. Honestly, they say so empowering. In what way? I don't really know how. You know, with that said, this is the society that we are in now, and I've said this before. Sports mirrors society, and society mirrors sports.
Steve, we're living in a world where 4 people, 3 men and 1 woman, are having a discussion, and only the woman is bold enough to say, hey, I've been to a strip club, and, you know, I've been to Magic City, blah, blah, where the men are actually embarrassed, won't admit to it, won't cop to it. and like this is the mainstream media. I know it's Amazon Prime, but this is the mainstream media. This is the brand promoting the NBA, or the company or the media platform promoting the NBA. I just and look, the race card has been played over Twitter. You know, that never takes long, and it doesn't take much impetus. But this whole branding of this is black culture, and I'm like, the NBA has what, 20%, 25% white players. They probably have 96% white in-house, in-arena fans. Half the coaches, the executives. This whole deal that the NBA is this black league, and that strip clubs are part of black culture, none of it adds up. None of it is based in reality, in my opinion.
It may not be, but I wonder, we should look up the Atlanta Hawks attendance. Like, where does it rank? Like, are they having problems getting people consistently into that building? Look, you do anything you can, but I remember they used to just give away pennants, foam fingers. They never give away a pole. It is a new one. You know, I look back, that got me thinking. One of Chris Rock's most famous riffs, when he was still funny and bold, he said, as a father, what's our number one goal as a father? Keep them off the pole. Think about it. So that was what, 96, 97, right? Late 90s. So if you would have told me, Steve, freeze right there, and in less than 30 years, we are going to have NBA franchises have basically a strip club night. Would you think about that or look upon that as progress or degradation of our society?
It's degradation. I'm going to keep it moving. Talk a little football, talk a little NFL draft. Todd McShay is now suggesting that Ty Simpson, the Alabama quarterback, only 15 starts, but might be a top 15 pick despite ending the season poorly. Let's play SOT number 4.
I'm a big Ty Simpson fan,
Okay.
despite the 6-1, the injuries, and the 15 starts. But I'm already starting to hear people like, could he go as high as Cleveland?
Really?
Sitting there at 6. And I hope for Ty Simpson, he does not become a Cleveland Brown. They don't have the protection. They don't have the weapons. I'd love to see him with the Rams. They pick at 13 to the first of their 2 picks. But it's fascinating to see a guy who has gastritis, got beat up all year long. His number one wide receiver disappeared in Ryan Williams. They had like the 126th best rushing attack at Alabama, which like Bear Bryant's rolling over in his grave. And it all fell apart at the end of the year. But I think he's different. And I think that there's some teams out there that are just trying to be really quiet about it, because everyone's talking about Mendoza and then the rest of the quarterbacks suck. It's just not the deal. And Ty Simpson's going to go somewhere in the first, and it won't shock me if it's in the top 15.
Top 15 pick for Ty Simpson with just 15 starts. It's like we come up with these rules that, oh man, the number of starts matter. And then the draft turns around and everyone throws the rules out and says, well, number of starts don't matter.
These teams are like, and I know you've been there, late in the night, you've taken a lot of gambling hits, and what do you try to do? You break all your rules, right? Don't you load up? That's what teams do with quarterbacks. I mean, one of the hard, fast rules, and I think Bill Parcells really was a believer in this. He's the first guy I ever saw that really stated this. If I'm going to draft a quarterback really high, he has to have at least 30 starts. He had other benchmarks. Did you graduate? Were you a team captain? What's your GPA? Stuff like that. But the number of starts he thought correlated into how quickly you were ready to play. I'm going to say something, and I'm not going JB here. I'm not going to that level. I don't believe Fernando Mendoza is a Troy Aikman, John Elway level number 1. If I was the Raiders, I would trade that pick and parlay that into more players. Okay, and then beyond that, I'd actually try to see what type of market there is for Max Crosby to rebuild. So what I'm saying is, if I don't believe Mendoza is that surefire number 1 that's ready to play from day one, I don't think Ty Simpson is either. Now, to be fair, I saw a lot of Alabama games. Offensive line could not drive block. They did not run the ball well, as Todd McShay said. He has very good field vision. That's one thing I do like, but I did not get the sense that guy's ready to play in year one in the National Football League.
I think a lot of times when stuff like this happens, there's a certain team out there, perhaps it's Cleveland, that's trying to create the narrative and the consensus that, hey, we took Ty Simpson here, but we're not overdrafting him. Didn't you hear Todd McShay? Didn't you hear how the conversation leading up that he's actually worth it? And so that's why Todd McShay is like, nah, I feel confident this guy's going in the top 15 pick because someone has told me that, and I'm out here to float that trial balloon and create the narrative that he's worthy of that.
Right, and someone talked themselves into Anthony Richardson. Now, again, I believe Ty Simpson is much more NFL ready than him. That I never understood how he was even in the discussion for a top 10 pick. Chris Ballard is lucky to have his job based on that draft. It's one of the worst I've ever seen. Now, Cleveland's at what, top 5 or 6?
Aren't they 6?
Yeah, so if I'm the Browns, I think it's a pretty good year for offensive linemen. Guys that you could plug and play right away.
Just traded for one, didn't they?
Okay.
Didn't they just?
Yeah, but it takes 5 though.
Yeah.
They're 5 offensive linemen away from having a good offensive line, so you need another one. Okay, get the guy to Utah or my guy Mawanoa. I think those are solid plug and play guys, but maybe they want a splash. But again, when you're talking about Cleveland, you know who's out there. You know who's the 3rd string quarterback or the 2nd string quarterback, and they've paid a lot of money or put a lot of money into Deshaun Watson. I'm not so sure they really want to move off of that just economically.
I want to go back to your Fernando Mendoza point because we had Bucky Brooks on yesterday, and he was at the Combine all week, and we talked about how good Sonny Styles looks and projects. We talked about Jeremiah Love. Is it the safety out of Ohio State that
Caleb Downs.
Yeah. That there's a lot of really, really good players. And I agree with you, and I like Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah,
but if there's a can't miss 6'5" inside linebacker that runs a 4.4 40 in Sonny Styles, if I'm the Raiders, I'm like, I'm gonna solve my defensive leadership, playmaking ability deal. This Sonny Styles is can't miss. There's some real risk to Fernando Mendoza, and it just, again, they can't take Jeremiah Love because they've already taken Ashton Genty, but there's some can't miss prospects out there that you know are going to be starters day one and make an impact. I would go that route.
Yeah, if you're the Raiders and they were bad, there's a reason why they're picking number 1. You're probably about what? 35 legitimate good players away from being where you want to be. You need a haul. I mean, I go back to what Jimmy Johnson did in '89. He said, I had one player that was worth anything, Herschel Walker, and I could have squeezed out 3-4 wins that year with Herschel, right? What did he do? He conned Mike Lynn into giving him a bunch of players that he converted into draft choices, and then Jimmy Johnson, in the 3-year stretch, made 51 or 52 trades. Jason, you know the rest of the NFL made about 49 together? So if you want to ramp up the process and you do not believe that Mendoza is that John Elway type of guy, I think you got to parlay that into multiple picks. And I would say, number 1, the number 1 pick that I get, one of them has to be a top 5 to 10 pick. So I want to stay in the top 10. So this way you're in line for one of those Ohio State guys or one of those offensive linemen, right? And then number 2, I'm going to need at least another pick or 2 within the top 50 and maybe a draft pick or 2 next year along with a starter. Again, you've got to leverage this and make this into multiple players quickly.
Steve, some news today, this morning actually. The Lions have traded David Montgomery, breaking up Montgomery and Gibbs. They trade running back David Montgomery to the Houston Texans. Good pickup for them. Montgomery played all 17 games, didn't start him, but averaged 4.5 yards per carry last year. He's 28 years old. There's still some tread left on his tire. All Houston had to give up was a 5th-round pick. What do you think of the Lions moving away from their two-headed running back monster to now just leaning fully into Jahmyr Gibbs?
Well, they did that last year. Jason, you know me, I'm a big Dan Campbell guy, so I watch a lot of Lions football, and I thought it was strange. There were games where Gibbs was going good, but that came at the expense of David Montgomery. And there were games where I felt like, is there something wrong there? So it is clear to me, based on what I observed, halfway through the season last year, they said, you know what? Jahmyr Gibbs is not big, but you know what? We got to ride this guy. He's a game breaker. So someone has to have their carries taken up, and that was David Montgomery. I'm actually surprised that it was only a 5th-round draft choice. This is a very good tackle-to-tackle physical runner. And now you say, well, you got to replace David Montgomery. There's one thing that the Lions have done the last 4 years very well, for the most part, with Brad Holmes. They draft very well. So you could find a running back, a Jadarian Price, who was Love's teammate at Notre Dame. I think he fits that culture very well. And I saw something, Jason, yesterday where they listed all the skill position players of the Houston Texans. They put this big graphic up with all these names now, including Montgomery. And they said, who's going to stop this Texans offense? And I said, probably C.J. Stroud. That's who can stop that offense, based on what I saw in the playoffs.
I was wondering where you were going there, and you landed about where I expected.
Thank you.
I want to switch up, go a little bit more college football. Mississippi, the state of Mississippi, has passed some law, no taxes on NIL money, trying to give themselves an advantage. This is from on the site On3. The Mississippi House has passed a bill that would exclude athletes' NIL earnings from the state's income tax. Arkansas passed a bill in 2025 to exempt NIL money from income taxes. Florida, Texas, and Tennessee are other states with SEC schools that have no income tax. This is just a leveling of the playing field, but it also, like, man, what a precedent we're setting, bending where NIL and college athletics has taken some of these states. Seems crazy to me that we're bending over this backwards for college kids that provide a little entertainment but nothing else. There's teachers, money gets taxed, everybody else. Anyway, your thoughts on the escalation in just benefits for these athletes?
There's an old phrase. It takes a village to raise a child, right? We've all heard that. Well, it takes a state to win a national championship. That's what we're finding out here. It's funny, when the NIL came into prominence, everyone said, well, these kids better learn how to pay taxes. Like hell they do. Not anymore. Not at a program that's trying to be serious. See, that's the difference between a program and a program. See, a program thinks they're just here to play ball. But a state that's here to help you win a national title and takes your taxes off the table, that's a program. Mississippi is programming. Respect to them.
Steve, I hear you, and it does put a little smile on my face, but it says something about the priorities of this country, man.
Of course.
That not good. It says bad things.
Of course it does. There's no doubt. Look, the Robert Smith, one of the great thinking athletes of the last generation, the running back.
Yeah.
Right? I have a lot of respect for that guy. He actually quit the Ohio State football team because one day on a road trip, he had his lights on. He was studying for a medical test because he's actually going to be a doctor. And his running back coach said, hey, lights off. And he said, well, wait a minute. I'm in my room. I'm studying. And I think the running back coach was Elliot Uzelac. And he told Elliot, I'm going to study here. I'm not turning on. And basically that led to his departure from Ohio State. He was actually a student athlete. And he once said years ago, here's the problem with America, and I'm an athlete. He goes, you people care more about your season tickets being raised, but what about your taxes to fix your roads and bridges? Something to that effect. You're right. We do have an outsized expectation, and I would believe a focus on athletics, sports, and entertainment instead of stuff that's probably much more important in the big picture. No argument there.
Look, they don't pay taxes. They don't have to go to class anymore because everything's online. They're paid enough money, and trust me, I know this, that they can sprinkle enough money around campuses, sorority houses, tutors, that they don't have to do their own work. If you're making $500,000, trust me, on a college campus, you pay somebody $100, $200 to write a paper for you, take a test for you, do anything for you. This is nothing to these guys. We're requiring less of athletes and giving them more. It's just a bad recipe, man.
Well, we're going to see what happens in 10. Could you imagine, though, what $500,000 does for you in Starkville? Wow.
With no state income tax, and what are you probably giving up? About 36% to the feds, or 35? I don't know what that number is, but that money goes a long way in Starksville.
Be a good time, and you wonder why these guys are asking for 6th, 7th, and 8th years of eligibility. Can we be honest, Whitlock? Do you blame them at this point?
I would love to reclaim some eligibility and sue the NCAA and go back and get that untaxed money. And that's why this next topic, and I'm bringing this up because he's one of your Miami boys, Luther Campbell, a bad influence on college athletics. But here's Luther with all the stuff we're giving athletes, no taxes, online classes, tutors, and people they can pay off to do all their work. Luther Campbell is still railing that, this system is so racist and rigged against these black players, and these white coaches are taking advantage of them. Here's Uncle Luke, your Miami booster, railing against white. Does Mario Cristobal, does he qualify as a white coach? Let's play the clip.
As soon as he got his ass out of college football, ran for the Senate.
Sorry, if you need more topic.
If you don't believe me, look at some of these coaches. They all support Donald Trump. They all with DEI. I don't know one white coach in Power 5 football that gives a about these kids. They are used car salesmen. I'm just giving it a buck. I hope the HBCUs get this shit together. These presidents who want to be the football coach, who want to be all in the video, who want to do all this here. I just hope they get their shit together. I hope HBCU alumni don't think that because you buy a ticket to the game, don't start putting money into the collectives and so we can get our kids back. And our kids can play for these HBCUs where these black men give a damn about these kids. And you can get you a great HBCU education and marry you a great HBCU still. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. Name me a white coach that give a about black players. Name me one of these who don't cape for Donald Trump. They love him, kiss his ass on Flagler Street. Does it mean well for African Americans? It's a business deal for them. Y'all need to realize it. That's why they are trying their ass off to do what? Stop these black kids from reaping the benefits that they should be reaping.
Steve, I know you're not alumni at Miami.
I am not Illuminati either. Illuminati. Couple things here, Jason. I think that video or what he said may have had a little bit of validity maybe 30 years ago before the NIL. Aren't they getting paid? My God. It's like, by the way, they were getting paid back then. It was just under the table. I'm reading, one of my next books that I'm going to be reading is from Armin Katayan, Raw Recruits. I don't know if you've ever read that.
I have read it.
Through it. Jason, everyone had their hand out. This whole notion these players were not, they were paid. They were absolutely had their hand out for every college they went to. Everyone played the game. Let's get that over with. Here's the issue that I have with Uncle Luke. Number one, thankfully you've gotten off our wide receiver coach, Kevin Beard. That's a good man and a good coach. We got to practice. We got to focus on spring ball in a week or two. Number two, Luther, when you were a high school coach at Edison, how many of your players many of whom will play Division I, did you specifically push to the HBCU? Howard, Bethune-Cookman, Hillman, loved around the world. I mean, how many? How many of your players that could have gone to any school did you say, you know what, though? No. We're not doing the PWI. How many did you push to the HBCU? How many? The other thing that's really interesting to me is that you yourself, as a football fan, you love jumping on the Miami bandwagon when they're good, and they're good again. You're back to being a number one fan. You're not working against our staff, which he's done before. But I do have a question. That's as serious as cancer. I have a question. How many Florida A&M games do you go to in lieu of Miami, Florida State? That's all I'm going to ask.
I think you raised great questions. I think obviously Luke wants the traction or whatever, but I don't. He knows enough about college football. He knows that these athletes have been getting catered to, pandered to, compensated, all this. I mean, some of these guys show up and can't read or write on a college campus. And I say that without an ounce of derision because, I know some guys that showed up to college not being able to read and write and seen a college pour into them and provide them all kinds of support and help and elevate them. And to sit there, and I've seen white college coaches that, in dealing with me, trying to prevent me from doing the dumb things that I did that harmed me and my career. The guy, I just don't understand these lies that have to be told for clout. It's embarrassing.
Well, Jason, how about this? I'll throw down a challenge. I looked at Miami's schedule this year and the players that we are bringing back. I'm going to say it right now. Playoffs. We're going all the way. We're going to make another run. But with that said, Luke, don't go to any Miami games with Mario Cristobal. All right? Or that PWI in Coral Gables. Not really Miami. Every week, I want you to campaign and be at an HBCU game and do some shows there and raise awareness. Every week, right? Be the message that you are screaming. Because we talked about this about 3 years ago, Jason. The HBCU agenda that everyone was pushing with Jackson State and Deion, it became the Malcolm X hat. It became a fad. You were into it. There's that famous picture of you. That was 1991. I remember that. Right? But I don't know. I think Malcolm X's words resonate more than ever. I have great respect for that man. I would never turn him into just a fad, something that was the pet rock. So, Luther Campbell, with all due respect, please don't go to a Miami game. Every week, week 1 through week 12, HBCUs would love to see you, and let's spread this message. That's all I'm saying.
I think me and the X hat is either 1992 or 93. I think I was in Ann Arbor, Michigan at the time. 91, I was still in Bloomington, Indiana.
Okay, all right, I got
Ann Arbor or Charlotte, North Carolina, or South.
Yeah, you had a top on. Did you get that? You were wearing an outfit from Chess King. So I was
yes,
early
it was
90s.
from Chess King. The shirt was from Chess King.
I knew it. The rayon,
right.
the rayon silk. I saw it.
Steve, I want to move you to my favorite topic, the WNBA, and it seems like things are coming to a head here with these collective bargaining agreement.
Hate that.
And it seems like it's going to split. I don't think most people are recognizing this, but the white girls are ready to end this whole deal and sign the deal. They don't want to strike. The black girls are still holding out and they're oppressed, and they want to play this to the bust. You got Kelsey Plum, you got Breanna Stewart basically saying, hey, look, we need to play this season. It's important. We don't need to strike. And then you have ladies like Natasha Cloud. So do we have a picture of Breanna Stewart, by the way? Hold on. Grab a picture of Breanna Stewart. Grab a picture of Kelsey Plum. And then, there's some pictures of Breanna Stewart where she's pretty manly. She dresses as a man. She's a lesbian. But I want to juxtapose, all we need is Kelsey Plum. I'm sorry, we don't need Breanna Stewart. Kelsey Plum versus Natasha Cloud. This is the New York Liberty, I believe, point guard. Are we ready? Can we play the clip of the New York Liberty point guard? Yeah, let's play the clip of Natasha Cloud talking about what she wants to have happen.
Are still not making enough. That middleman potentially still not making enough for housing to also be taken off of the table. You all know this New York market. that $200,000 jump that players are going to make, that's before taxes. That's before what they would have to pay for a potential housing market in the state of New York. So I still am focused on our middleman again. I think it's a starting point. I'm happy with them finally coming back to us with a proposal, but I think there's a lot more that we can do to protect our middleman, even with our jump of salary.
That is the black Megan Rapinoe there, still drawing a hard line in the sand about this. And so we could end up with a strike because the black girls won't finally fold shop and say enough is enough. And the white girls are like, hey, let's get this money. We've cut a hell of a deal. We play 40 games. No one really cares about us other than Caitlin Clark. We've done enough here. The white girls are like, we've done enough. We're getting away with highway murder. Are the black women capable of talking them into jumping off the bridge?
First of all, I want to rebuke what that stud said. The average American salary is about what, 55 to 60,000.
Yeah.
No one is going to feel sorry for someone that cannot live within their means at 200,000 before or after taxes. Bottom line, I told you this 3 years ago, and people gave me heat. Once again, I'm ahead of the game. They're the most unlikable league with the most unlikable participants by far. So let me get this straight, Jason. I've been listening to some Ben Daniel, John the Liquidator. Got to bring those guys back. So I have been, seriously. I've been getting
Nation.
Yeah, oh, well, that's my guy. Yeah. That's my guy.
Ock's probably watching right now. He DMs me all the time on Twitter.
Me too. Yeah.
Love you. Yeah.
So you're saying that the white girls are being reasonable and mature, and they're going to rescue this. They're going to pull them back, right?
Yes.
Meanwhile, the other side is going to just be a hard line and just sink this whole thing. Okay, with that said, my two choices, I got to roll with the sisters. Black girl magic. Stay strong. Stay strong, women. Come on. The fearless audience needs you. Hold the line, please.
I'm almost there with you. I'm almost there with you, but I do want my Caitlin Clark back. I do want to watch Caitlin drain some threes and hopefully play more efficiently. But I'm just going to say that as confident, like they've done an amazing job. Some of these women are going to get paid $1 million
right.
And for a 40-game, 44-game season that no one watches. They're going to be vastly overpaid. They're flying private to these games in a league that it doesn't really matter. And it's not surprising that there are some women in this league, like that Natasha Cloud wants to be a man. She's dressed up as a man. She lives in fantasy land 24/7. I'm not surprised, and there's a bunch of other players like that in the WNBA, that those players are illogical and will push this to the brink. Because, again, it's not about making money. It's not about being treated fairly. It's about staying on message and proving that they're oppressed and that the white man and the white woman is oppressing them. They'll blow this thing up. I would not be surprised.
Yeah, Jason, as a sports fan, me and you lived with a lot of strikes, right? There was the NFL strike in the early 80s and 87 where they brought in the replacements. That was awful. 1994, me and Tony Gwynn, we were on our way to 400, and they pulled the plug on us. Terrible, right? So we all regret it. So there's, even with the NBA, whatever labor strife they have, there's still a group of fans, a large majority of people, or a group of people that would miss the NBA. Can we be honest, Jason? It's a sliver of the American population that would actually care if the WNBA sat out, locked out, or just struck, right? So they better be careful here what they wish for.
Finally, Steve, Charles Barkley blames the media for the controversy around Team USA hockey. Let's play SOT 7.
I'm proud of the United States men. I'm proud of the United States women. You should have invited both of them to the White House, but it shouldn't have been disrespect, misogyny. Like, yo, man, why do y'all have to mess up everything? Everything is not Democrat, Republican, conservative, or liberal. That's why we got this divided, screwed up country. Stop it, man. Because, you know, the public, they're idiots. They're fools. They can't think for themselves. So, you know, I know y'all say stuff to trigger them. Y'all say stuff, but y'all know they're going to be fools.
Steve, I need you to bail me out here. I'm going to go to the bathroom while you react to Charles Barkley.
All right, well, hurry up. But first of all, I just want to say one thing. As someone who loves America, and God bless this great country, I'm with Charles in one sense. The media is the one that made this into a negative story. They're the ones who gave it this connotation that somehow that there was an error made by that team in taking the phone call, going to the White House. But here's the reality. The media framed it, and they put all of these athletes for about 2 weeks in the Olympics on the spot, as if to say, you hate America, right? I mean, really, that's what terrible. Well, what else are they going to say? Most of them are gutless, and the other ones don't really know how to react. The reality is that Charles's point is, it's not the media as a whole. It is the activist brand or the leaning lefty, loony liberal media that is anti-American and Marxist that pushed this agenda. So, and right then, they're already fan the flames. It kind of reminds me of what's going on. Sean Strickland, I don't know if you guys know him, very outspoken individual with the MMA, fights for the UFC. You ask him a question, he will give you one of the most unfiltered answers you'll ever see. And a couple of weeks ago, he said a lot of things that were controversial to a lot of people. So he wins a fight, and Dana White, another guy, firecracker, right? They asked him, well, are you afraid or are you alarmed by what Sean Strickland says at time? And Dana White gave a great answer. He says, no, you morons need to stop asking these dumb questions about Bad Bunny. Yeah, you're right. If I'm Sean Strickland, some guy's trying to maul my head, the last thing I'm thinking about is Bad Bunny. So yes, I think Charles has a point, but it's not all of the media, it's certain media. Are you back?
I am back. Thank you. Awesome job. I'm sure everything you said there was tremendous.
It was.
Steve, I'm going to let you go. Great job as always. And before we get out of here, we'll take a couple of minutes hearing from my peanut gallery, Luke, Justin, and Peyton. Luke, what was the best part of today's show?
Today's show, you missed an opportunity whenever Steve was talking to say the word JB taught you pause.
Pause?
Yeah,
Did he make a gay reference?
That's what he said. He said something about riding some man or something. I'm like, Jason, you got to say pause there. Steve, pause.
I probably should have said pause to myself, even bringing up Natasha Cloud. That was probably the gayest thing on the show today. But yeah, I probably missed an opportunity to be hip and cool there. And
also, random talking about Natasha.
Yeah.
Using the word stud to describe a
that was not me. That was Steve.
Yeah, but like that's got to be a top 5 nickname or whatever you call that. I don't know.
Is she one? There's girls on the Minnesota Lynx that call themselves the Stud Buds or something like that. It's not Natasha Cloud though, because she plays for the Liberty. I can't remember the two manly women that play for the Minnesota.
Courtney
Lynx.
Williams is one of them.
Courtney. There we go. There's Justin. Courtney Williams is definitely one of them, and the other one I think comes off the bench. Justin, what's the best thing we did today?
Oh man, well, any conversation about strip clubs, got my ears perked up. I will say though, I think the Hawks are doing that because the strip club business is going down. Young people aren't going there anymore. That's a fact. So
you think they're promoting Magic City now? Listen, the ticket sales for this at Hawks game has actually gone through the roof. That they've been struggling.
I bet it is. Listen, Magic City is probably top 3 for you. I don't know. I wouldn't know.
No, not Magic City is not top 3 for me. Again, I've gone to Magic City several times, and I have had the wings, but I was more of a Pink Pony or Cheetahs man in Atlanta. That's the old way.
Well, nevertheless, I think they're trying to get younger people to go. So this is their opportunity.
That cannot be right.
Let me. Justin's wrong here. Justin, Grant Hill owns a piece of the Atlanta Hawks, a small piece. The Magic City is owned by 2 former Duke football players. They're old, in their 60s. They may be 70 by now. But yeah, 2 former Dukes. I think that's part of the connection. And just the pandering to the hip-hop crowd. Hip-hop runs everything. This is pandering to T.I. and all that, and it's seen as the pro-black thing to do. I don't think there's any great mystery here. And they're selling tickets. The tickets are through the roof for this
the value of the tickets have gone through the roof. The Hawks are like incredibly just mediocre, middling every single year. No one wants to go to those games.
Do they still have Trae Young? He's with the Wizards.
He got traded to the Wizards.
Yeah.
I mean, they have pretty much no intrigue essentially, and they're in the middle of the play-in again, and they need March ticket sales.
Yeah, Hadley just chimed in that Rick's Cabaret is the strip club we're not mentioning. I think that's a chain.
That's New Orleans.
That's a New Orleans thing.
Strip club knowledge is not the flex you think it is.
But the idea they're trying to get young people to go there, there's no way.
Well, you're blaming Peyton. Peyton's the one that or was that a shot at me or was that a shot at Peyton? Did you just take a shot?
Everybody, I guess.
Everybody.
All the smoke.
Peyton, best thing to happen on this show today?
Well, I think anytime we can talk about mid-major basketball, that just lets you know that it's March and that it's one of the most underrated, I think a good topic is one of the most underrated sports months of the year is March into early April with the Masters and the NCAA Tournament. And I'm obviously football over everything pretty much, but when it comes to March Madness, I don't think there's anything better.
I think that Mike DeCourcy has gone to the Chad Jackson School of Public Speaking, and these guys, man, they can eat some innings.
Well, we learned about bubble metrics and different scheduling nuances, which I find fascinating, and I know I speak for all of our viewers, so that's a good thing.
Well, anyway, thank you guys. Thank you all for watching. That's it, and that's all for us today. We'll see you tomorrow.